Okay, let's open 7. So basically, what is event handling? Any event that will occur, JavaScript need to capture. So you are clicking a button, so that should capture. So then only it will submit your login details. That is email and password, and it will communicate with server. That is one event. And changing the drop downs, that will be on change. On changing a drop down, right? Or on changing the value. That might be anything. And on hover of the mouse, which will be on mouse hover in JavaScript, but in React we will use as on hover. So it will be camel cases. Basically, all the events will be on camel case. Remove mouse for the on mouse hover, on mouse enter, on mouse leave. You can remove mouse in this particular word. That will be on hover, on mouse out, on mouse leave, like that. So you can remove mouse and on load. So on load will also be there in React for the inputs. For example, if it is an image, whenever the image is loaded, because image will take at least some milliseconds, right? So whenever the image is loaded, it will call. Or on load of the page. And also on change of the field. That will be select field or even value also. So there is an input email, you entered some other value. So the value is whole changed. Even the character is changed in the whole value. It will call. And passing the data. So basically in JavaScript, we'll pass using event attribute or something, right? So the same way we can pass here also, but it's a little bit different. It's not a little bit different, but it's a little bit different in Angular. Here, since it's a JavaScript React, right, we can directly send like JavaScript only as a parameter. So it will directly take. And how to bind it. So how to bind it, and we'll see in the code. So let's open the code. Basically, we are binding it using curly braces. But in HTML, we'll use binding double quotes, right? Here we'll use curly braces. That is the main difference. And all the events will be in camel case. That is also main difference. So I just created events as a function component. So let's see whether it is running or not. Okay, I just opened it. Just start npm. Okay, these are yesterday's ones, right? So let it be. So this is the today's high. So what I will do here, first I want to do on change event for the drop down or value or anything. Let's start creation of that. So we create a division and we'll put the whole into the division, or it should be only one tag because that should be containerized. Otherwise it will throw an error if you write two tags. But the two tags will be there in containerizer tag, which is the higher tag. For example, div have the more priority than paragraph. Means div is the specificity of div is higher than the paragraph because that is a block level element. So now inside that I can make it create an input type equal to email placeholder enter email. So enter email. Now I need to put on change. See, so by default React will have all this on change, on can play for audio videos. So on change, on click and all. So I will use on change. So based on the framework or library, it will automatically suggest because we already installed that library and this function is already using the React. So that is how we can do. Since it's already JSX, it will automatically suggest. If I create as .js, it cannot suggest. You got it? If I create a .js and if I'm writing right, these suggestions might not be there. If it is .html, it will suggest on change as the normal JavaScript, which is non-camel case. So based on the file itself, it will also suggest. because VS Code will have that intelligence because we have extensions. We can able to enable extensions, then only the suggestions might be enabled. So this on change, I need to call which function? I create a function. Let's create handle change. I just created an arrow function. I'll just put console.log as here, that is an event, right? Event dot target dot how to get the value using event dot target dot value you already know. So this I need to bind to this function. So directly I can bind this. Let's check how we can bind in these two ways, this way and this way, or we can also directly bind it. So we no need to send the event basically in React. It will automatically take this event will be allocated for this event variable. It's automatically binded. Remember it. Some const variable. Since it's an arrow function, I can create it with a const. If I want to create the normal function, you can directly create using function keyword. Remember it. So this is so. Should be handle change one. Since I am not using it, it is in dull. Transparency got increased. So now, if you want to create normal function, you can create like this. If you want to create arrow function, you can create like this. You got it? Now I am calling arrow function. Let's check here. Is I'm using on change. Let's check console. See, we got the value whenever it is changed. We got the value. So if we use handle change one instead of this, that might also work. That is also working here. We can use anything. So basically React will not re-render. It will not re-render all the elements. Whatever the element that is changed, that will only re-render. That is why you got the value here. You have still the value, right? Without even the, that is not reloaded. See, if I change to here, handle one to handle. See, it will not re-render. It will not at all re-render. Only changes that is required that will be changed. So that is why this input is not erased. You got it? So in Angular, it will erase because it will re-render the whole DOM. So here it is having virtual DOM. That's why it will not re-render the whole DOM. It will just re-render only that particular object which is changed that need to bind that. That's it. That reference is only changed. Apart from that, nothing will change. So that is why still we have value here. This is a great example of re-rendering virtual DOM. Got it? Otherwise, input might be erased. You already know that. This value will also be erased. Got it? Got it. So we did change, right? Just create one more select opt group and give some options, which is KA value equal to Karnataka. I just given two values. You can use on change. You can give like this also, or you can directly bind it. These two ways you can do. I just change it to AP. I will create another function as function change. Actually, we will not get event dot target dot value for select option because it is having only value. So change value, I can give as change value because I'm not using this. So meet as console dot log as value. So input will be value because since it's select option, it will not be binded with event. So it will directly get the value which you selected. So instead of this, I will put change value. So we'll get here value. Everything is there. Now you try to get it. Why it's not coming? Let's check. Not to come. Fine, this is working. It is also getting. Now just check. Okay. This arrow function is not working since it's a normal function. Just try to bind like this. AP. Yeah, it is working. So mostly, if it is a normal function, use directly. If it is an arrow function, then you can use arrow functions. So for normal function, if you are using like this as an arrow, that might not work because we seen just now. So that's how we can able to bind it. We can directly put this function in the braces. So basically in main JavaScript, like in HTML or Angular, we are using double quotes. Here we should not use double quotes. If you use double quotes, it will become as value only, direct value, not a variable. Just use some division. It is sample. I can make it hover on it. So what I will do on hover. What is the next one? Hovering on hover. Means on mouse hover. On mouse, enter mouse, leave everyone we have. It is on mouse hover. So I will call a function which is function mouse over. I will get a value for this and just do console.log value. So now I don't send event, I will send value. If you want to send value, you can directly send like this as it is over. So it will directly call. Is we not applied this on mouse over, we're adding mouse over. Yeah, we are consoling it. Yeah, we got the value. I got adding alert instead of that so that I can easily identify. Why it's coming late. Alert is not working properly. It's coming now. Let it be, there is an issue. So instead of alert, put console.log only on mouse over. Again on mouse leave, everything you can get it. The same as JavaScript, but only the thing is, it is in camel case all the words. And you need to bind in curly braces. Apart from that, there is not at all any change we have. Next one, on blur. For most of the times inputs we have on blur, right? Whenever it is changed, on blur we are filtering the elements. On key up, on key press also we have. The same way we can enter. For example, on key up means whether it is a number or a string, we need to check. You already know while you are entering Aadhaar number in our portal or any portals, it will not accept characters. So we can check how to restrict the characters. When is, if it is on key up or on key press also we can do. we'll just create one more function, check key. So we'll just get the event, undo console.log event dot target dot value, check key. What is this type? Actually number. So let's text. Yeah, we got this. So now this is fine. Now I want to do the same in the class components. Got it? So just create the same class events class extends react dot component. Class will have constructor if we have any state. It will have super class if it is having extending with another component. So now if you want to mention the state of it, you can also mention state equal to name change. So if you want to change the state in the constructor level, you can change this dot state equal to name Vishnu. You can change. That is completed. Now I can create a function as handle click. Here, since it's a class, we no need to create a function keyword. It is direct function, like a TypeScript function. So now we'll render. Inside render, we need to return the HTML code in a division. So whenever you write once, at least this one, you can able to easily go through that from next onwards. Here I will create an student as this dot state dot name. It is star. It's can able to identify it. So whenever I click on it, some on click, I can say handle click. Whenever it is change name, means he asked to change the name. Then we'll set the state. Okay. Here inside we'll set the state. Set state. This is how we need to set the state. Actually, we'll get the previous state. We don't want any previous state. I want to check the name. So I want to change the name as Vishnu to Marla. So it might change afterwards, then it might change here. So let's check whether it is working or not. So this event class, what I will do here, I will make it as a fragment. Now let's check. As of now, it is Vishnu. Is there any button? I didn't put any. Okay, I given division. Just give us a button so that we can able to see it. Okay. So now let's check. Cannot read properties of set state. So okay, here this is handle click, right? You already know what need to do. We need to bind this reference in the class component. Otherwise, it will not get this reference. You got it? You need to bind this reference for this using function bind. Then only it will bind. Otherwise, it will not at all bind. You got it? I changed. So again, I will add +1. So every time. So that is how it is. So what I will do, I will add previous state dot name +1. So every time it will increment basically, right? So we are changing. If it is changing means it will re-render. Remember it. Console log here. Re-render. This will only re-render because the state got changed. And how to track that? It's re-rendered. Again, it will re-render. Re-render. So how to track this? Because of lifecycle hooks. It will re-render. Component should update. Component did update. Component did update is a lifecycle hooks. Whenever it is re-render, after that it will call. Component should update is the lifecycle hooks. Whenever it should be re-rendering, right? At the time of re-rendering, it will decide whether it should re-render or not. So that is the same. So that is the next topic, which is lifecycle hook. So again, we'll put some image on load. IMG src equal to width 100 pixel, height 100 pixel. On load, handle load. Just create a function. If it is arrow function, then it is fine. We don't need to bind these references. Here we will get the event if we are sending some value. I will send here some value as on image loaded. So we'll get the value. If you're not sending, it will get the event of image tag. Alert image has been loaded. There is an error. Here I want to upload the image. Let's see. Okay, I already imported the image at some point. Handle load is not defined. Let's check. Handle load is not defined. I think it's a class function. We don't need to use it. This dot handle load equal to this dot handle load dot bind of this. Every function you have, if it is normal function, you need to definitely bind. Otherwise, it will not at all it will work. Events.jsx 78 line. This is the one, right? On load, handle load. Okay. Since it's a class, you need to use this, otherwise it will not accept. That is the main reason. In the class, you need to use the this, otherwise it will not work. That is our mistake. Yeah, image has been loaded many times from the last. Image has been loaded. So that is on load also. On load of the element. If that is element is taking time, we can notify the other elements whenever it is available on the DOM. Means on load. Means on loaded and that is attached to the DOM. You can able to notify. Next. So these all example I already directly given image also. So you can also practice the same, which I just copy paste after entering here. Okay. Hmm. అవును చూద్దాం ఒకసారి ఇవ్వచ్చు అనుకుంటా కాబట్టి నేను ట్రై చేయలేదు assets.template.jpg I think we need to give the absolute path. It is taking from local host, right? Yes. We need to give the absolute path there. No, it's not taking basically. I tried this previously. So in React, we need to add this. I will tell you is any another way we can add one. First way is we need to import and we can directly make it. Second way, we can also add it like this. If it is an another server URL. So ఇప్పుడు మనం ఏం చేద్దాం అంటే let's try GitHub image. So this is the image, right? This is the logo. Just try to inspect and get this element. Let's try. So this image I want to steal. Okay. Just give this URL. Let's check. We got this. So basically we need to give the absolute URL or this relative is not working properly. So that you can load. Since it is in the same folder, you can update and import like this. Yes. So now we have lifecycle methods for the class components in the React. But for the function components, we have hooks like use effect. So we have 3 to 4 hooks. So that will be in the next chapters. I will be explaining different types of hooks and all. So this chapter we'll see life cycles of the particular class. So now I will tell you there is a 3 phases of the class. First phase is new. First phase is 1, which is mounting. Or rendering. Second phase is updating. Updating the states of the values. The last stage is unmounting. Means it is unloading from the DOM. Basically in React terminology, we'll call as mount, unmount and update. If it is mounting means it will be updated, means it is adding to the DOM. Means rendering to constructor, everything will be a mounting stage. Means constructor will call first. After that only render will call. Inside render will return the HTML that will be mounted to the HTML DOM. Updating means whenever you click something, handle click or something, we are changing the state on Vishnu value to Jayantan value and incrementing the count. This is updating state. Here, in order to catch these updates, there are 2 to 3 lifecycle hooks. And in order to catch this mounting, and it means before it's rendering, we have 1 to 2 lifecycle hooks, which can able to catch the initial value or initial API calls. Remember it. Who will do initial API calls for this component? For example, you logged in. I open course component route URL. What is the first function it will automatically call before rendering? That is mounting stage. We'll call API calls and get back the response. So I will tell you where. For example, you open course dashboard / course ID. Means I will get the property with course ID using props. So using course ID, in mounting stage, I will call this course ID with API so that I will get all the courses. Means all the subjects of this course and I can load. That is the mounting stage. That is the initialization of the component. That is okay. Because every framework will work like that only or any library. So that is mounting stage. So whenever I click something or I will add something or I will edit something, that is updating phase. In order to catch this, we have some lifecycle methods. It will automatically call, nobody will call it. Got it? Last one is unmounting. Means destroying. Means the route URL is changed. Another component is going to load now. Then it will be unmounted. Means it will be removed from the document tree, which is DOM. So this is the 3 phases. First phase, just go one by one. We have material already. It's a constructor. It is initialized, it is used to bind the methods, right? Using bind these references. And also along with that, it will set the initial state. Ante kada. So that is the first one. You know that, you already know because we already did it. This is a constructor. This will be called first. So just to put pointers also, you can able to understand. So I will debug it so that you can easily understand again now one more time. So which one in events only? We have class events. I just put cursor here. I'll just put pointer here and even render also. Which will call first? You only see. First constructor only will call. This is the first phase of initializing the all. Nothing will be there. So you see local, this is undefined. Now go one by one. Now it is attached with the class. Inside that we have all this state and all. Means before initializing this, there is no nothing in the this. In constructor level only we got this. Again, I will open and show you so that you can see that. See, now this is undefined. You see, constructor initialization is happened with the super, then only you got this reference as event class. Before that, you don't have. So that is the first phase of initial rendering. Means that is mounting stage. See, render is called after that. Means the next method is render. Go to material. Okay, we have this one also. Let it be. Next method is render. So it will render the component state. Means in the HTML. Means render will return the HTML, right? That will be rendered. Before that, we have some static method. So the static method is nothing but a component lifecycle. What we will do? Get derivated states from props. So what is happening? So if the parent component which is sharing some data, like a name or something, if that is changed, we can able to re-render it. If that is not changed, if that is not equal to means, then only we can able to update it. Then it will automatically re-render. Means we have a properties, those are incoming to this particular component. And again, we have the previous state, which is the current state. When our property got updated from the another component, then this will call automatically. We don't need to call it because that is static. It will call automatically when that particular data. For example, in data we have name or we have count as 1 or 2. If both are different, then only it will update. Then re-render will happen. Otherwise, it will not re-render. You got it? So that is how this will work. This we no need to call, but we need to call. It will automatically call using static. It's an automatic invocation whenever the properties got changed. It's not about state. Whenever the properties get changed, which are incoming props, then it will automatically update. Means it will automatically call and it will return the updated value. If it is returning updated value, means it will re-render. So I given an example also. You can also copy and paste. Now this one I will demonstrate again. Did mount. Did mount means whenever data is updated, then it will call before that. So just check this. So I will make this did mount. So this one only I will use. I will use component did mount. In this component did mount, I can set the state. You got it? I can set the updated state. So what I will do, we are setting the state. Okay, here I want to set the state. This dot set state. So when this will call? When this will call? This will call immediately after render. Immediately after rendering. Means when our component is mounted, immediately it will call. No one need to call it externally. So I will make it name. I will change to JROM. Now let's check. Is this the same? Events class. I will remove this alert first of all. Just put console.log. You see, JRAM is called because so now you put console logs in each and every method. Just put console.log here. Constructor called first one. Next one, I will put it here. Component did mount called. Again, I will put here also render. Now see the scenario which will be calling first and which will be calling next. JRAM. We'll see. Okay. See component did mount and render. Just again refresh it. Component did mount render image has been loaded. So basically, whenever the constructor is completed and whenever rendering is done, before that it is calling. Here, what I told, we can set the initial stage means API calls. I already told you. We can do the API calls and we can set the updated state. So let it be. Just get set time set some timeout. Set timeout, right? It's nothing but a promise or set timeout, whatever you do. You already know that how to do that. 2. You got the value, right? So then I will set it. In set timeout means it will be updated after 2 seconds. See, it's updated, right? JRAM means whenever the page is loading, initial data will be taken from component did mount only. Again, we have component will mount. That is after updating stage. I will tell you. Component did mount is the initial invocation hook to call the API calls to load the data. So you put now tell me whenever I am opening this page, so I need to get the course data using course ID. Using which lifecycle hooks I can get? Component did mount only. Because did mount is the initial one. I can get the this dot props dot ID or something which we are getting. Then we can print it. Let's get something. If you are sent where we are using this event class on top or where here. I will send as ID as some hexa value. So we can get this props and props. So we can just print it here so that you can understand. This dot props dot ID. Data. Let's put data props dot data dot ID. We got this, right? So whatever the property key you are given, then you can directly access with properties dot key. So that is the key value. So you can directly remember if you practice once or twice. But if you forget, if you don't practice for 6 months, at least if you don't practice for 6 months, again you will forget. Again, if you practice once in 6 months, you can remember again for 6 months. Because practice will be like that only. So this is one anamata. So whenever I get that, here what I will do, let course ID equal to this dot props dot is it data dot ID. This based on this course ID, I will call the API. Whenever I got the result, I will set that. You got it? Then the course will be loaded. So this is how component did mount will be work in any React application. You got it? This is the main lifecycle hooks which will be used for API calls. I already used it for the setting the date basically. Now updating. Here also it's an updating phase. Get derivative states from props. So if the properties has been changed, again here it will call one more time. If the properties has been changed, then only it will send the return data. Otherwise, it will not set. For example, data is a number or a name, or even a primitive type, which is a number. So if it is changed, if it is not equal to the previous state, then only it will send return, then only it will re-render. Otherwise, it will not re-render. Should update. Yes. Here we want to decide whether it should update or not. You got it? We want to decide whether it should re-render or not. We will use this should update. Should component update. It is the same. Yes. If we'll get the next props, comma, previous state. Just check whether it is the same. Next props on previous state means here properties got changed now. Here if properties got changed. If properties got changed, then only it will call. Then it will automatically call. If it is calling means we are returning true or false. Next props dot data dot id not equal to previous state dot data dot id. So whenever we got something from properties, remember it, we need to store here as a local copy using this dot props dot data dot id. I think we need to use this. Let's check this. This dot props dot data dot id means we need to check here if the previous state dot data dot id is not equal to next dot props, then only it will re-render. Otherwise, it will not at all re-render. Remember it. Just put console log called should update means if it should update means it will re-render. It will re-render the content. And again in the content, which one it will re-render? It will re-render only ID because ID is only changed partially. That is virtual DOM. If it is real DOM, it will re-render all. You already know. In input tag, in previous example, input is not erased. If it is re-rendering the whole component, like whole HTML means input might be erased. You've already seen that example. So it will re-render what? Whatever the property, the key that is changed, that will only re-render. Otherwise, it will not at all re-render. Got it? Undefined as ID. Let's check. Next for all the data. Let's check. Let's debug this. We got data in props. Set state we have. JROM will be set. Next props data is this one. Previous state. It is having, right? Okay. Previous state, we don't have data variable. That's it. If state means state only, because state is nothing but the data. So these two only we have. That is only error. Otherwise, nothing else. So that will work fine now onwards. So it will check. If we are sending another variable here after some time, then it will re-render. It's re-render. It might re-render. Component should update. And it's updated. We can use this example, or in our class, whatever I written, I will share this file also and upload in this module immediately after. Again render. So it will call every time whenever it is having some changes in the states or props. That is decided with should update. And component did mount will be for initial API calls. Again, this snapshot before update is. So what is snapshot before update? Whenever document is re-rendering, before that, every time if you want to get the what is the position of scroll bar, what is the position of scroll bar, and what is the height and width of the page, at what position you want to restore it, then it will be very useful. Now I will show you where I was including this. So I was there in the module 8. I will just update module 8. It will go and open that same. For example, I was at module 7. I updated something. It will refresh and it will go to the same position and it will restore, right? This I want to store it somewhere. So that somewhere is nothing but we can automatically store in which lifecycle hook. This is snapshot before update. Means after re-rendering, again we'll use that. Again we'll use that. In which lifecycle hook? In which lifecycle hook? What will call immediately after rendering? Component did mounting. Means component did mount once. Okay, no, it's not component did mount. Component did update. Is there any changes? Immediately after rendering, it will call. It will call and it will check if you want to update here, you can update. Component will, 1 minute. I will show from here. Component did mount is for initial API calls. Constructor you already know, this is the first one. And render is the one. Before render, component did mount call for the initial invocation, that is fine. And this is in between, if something is changed from the properties. So then it will call, we can change and we can send the return true or false, then it will re-render. Got it? Then we have update. Component should update. Whenever the state has been changed or the properties has been changed, we can compare it whether the previous property or previous state is updated or not. Then we can send return true or false. This will be there in the both the states. Whenever it is changed with the properties, then we can automatically get it. It is automatically called because that is a static method. We don't need to call that. The next one is again render, get snapshot before update, component did update. So now, what is component did update? Component did update will be called whenever you change some value. For example, I change some value here. Okay, let it be. I change some value here. So whenever I update state every time, it will be called with component did update. Then you can catch the value and you can able to use it if you want. Means whenever component did update is happened, so whatever you got snapshot, that is your scroll position, that is your whatever retrieving the state at where in which module, in which subject you open or in which module you open. I open this module before re-rendering. So we'll get these values in component snapshot and we can set it to the state in component did update. That is the important. Means in order to retrieve something and need to apply, we can retrieve from component snapshot. Yes, you can get it and we can get the current scroll height and length and all, and we can update it after component did update. You got it? We'll get the elements before rendering and it will render. Again, we can apply in did update. Means if you want to retain the position, how I retain the scroll position and the module expansion, right? So that we will do. And the last but not the least, component will mount. We'll implement this. Let's see. component will mount. Console.log. It is will mounted. Might be it will be invoked only with the help of routing. We didn't enable routing, but let's see whether we can able to see it or not. So now tell me if I click on register, now this course dashboard component is unloaded from the browser. Then only component will mount call. You got it? So now I click register. Means I am coming out of from the previous document to the current document. Then component will mount will call will mounted means it is removed from the DOM. Means it is nothing but destroy method. So this is also will be helpful whenever you're refreshing the page. When you're applying for a job, it will ask for whether you want to save the details or you want to refresh the page. That is also because of component will mount. You got it? Means whenever you're destroying, it will call. Let's check whether we can able to get it. It is will mounted. Okay. It is will mounted. It is destroyed. Means whenever we are refreshing that, it can able to get it. It is will mounted. Again, it is coming back. Means whenever you're refreshing the page means this is unloaded from the DOM. If it is unloaded means it will call will mount and will refresh. Or even though if you change the route URL, another component should be loaded. At the time also this will be triggered. So at the time, if you want to save the state of the component, then you can save. That state means whatever it may be, you fill some details. Before refreshing, it will automatically save if you apply logic in component will mode. Got it? And that will send to the next component also if you want to send as a property in routing. So that is what all about lifecycle hooks. So tomorrow we'll explain hooks by debugging there also. Let's see. So practice these two because these two basically this is also important. And now I am telling you, mostly we'll use constructor render. You already know. We'll use did mount most of the time because 100% we need to use this because to get the initial API calls. And we'll use will mount also in order to destroy the component. These four we will use mostly, not much. This also it's an optional because it's an optional for you in order to retain the scroll position or not. But if you want to retain it, you can get it. Got it? Should update. Should update is also optional. It's not like we need to use each and every lifecycle hook, but there is no applicability in your application means you will not use. Component should update you if you want to check externally whether previous property or previous state is changed, then only you can use it. Otherwise, you will not use it. Every time if you want to re-render, you can re-render. That's a performance issue when comes to larger applications. Then they will use components should update means should component update. Due to performance issue, you can apply this one also. So in order to avoid the re-rendering, you can make it. But the small scalar applications, mostly we don't implement should component update. For Amazon, Flipkart, which are the heavy applications, then definitely we need to do should component update because crores and lakhs of people using at the same second. So there we'll use should component update. Then definitely it will increase the performance. Definitely React, Facebook and WhatsApp, everything is using should component update in order to avoid unnecessary re-renderings. So now